Chapter 46, Union of 8 Guilds 2. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 1.6K366. Looks like it's showtime, Shaltir. Time to give our guests a proper welcome. Destroy them, I commanded, watching as she eagerly obeyed my order and charged into battle. Incoming, mages, launch the attack. The enemy commander shouted, his voice tinged with urgency as he tried to rally his forces. But it was too late. Before the mages could unleash their spells, Shaltir was upon them, her crimson eyes ablaze with determination as she cut through their ranks with effortless grace. With each swing of her weapon, she left a trail of destruction in her wake, her movements fluid and precise as she danced through the chaos of battle. As Shaltir unleashed her wrath upon the enemy forces, cutting through their ranks with the finesse of a seasoned warrior, I couldn't help but admire her ferocity. Ah, nothing like a bit of recreational slaughter to start the day, I quipped to no one in particular, earning a raised eyebrow from Death, who watching. But as the battle raged on, I knew it was time to unleash another weapon in our arsenal. With a flourish that would make even the most flamboyant magician jealous, I reached for my world item, the Abyssal Horn of Infernal Conquest. This artifact was the epitome of demonic fun, perfect for summoning party guests who were just dying to join the festivities. With a dramatic blast of infernal noise, the horn summoned forth a legion of demons, each one more eager to wreak havoc than the last. Looks like the party's getting started. As our demonic allies surged into battle alongside our undead forces, I couldn't help but marvel at the sheer absurdity of it all. Who needs therapy when you've got an endless supply of demons to unleash on your enemies? I mused aloud, earning a chuckle from Death. Of course, I can't let them have all the fun, can I? So without further ado, I also joined the fight. Looks like it's time to show these amateurs how it's done, I declared, my voice ringing out above the chaos of battle. Of course, being the strongest player in the game had its perks. With a flick of my wrist, I unleashed a devastating combo attack, sending enemy players flying in all directions. Sorry folks, no refunds on this ass-kicking, I called out with a smirk, dodging a flurry of spells aimed in my direction. Looks like they're running out of steam, I remarked with a smirk, watching as their once confident ranks began to falter and waver. It was clear that they had vastly underestimated the might of Ainzulgaun and its formidable guardians. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow in surprise as I observed their dwindling resources. Surprisingly, they only had one world item, I remarked to Death, a hint of amusement in my voice. I thought they'd at least have a few more up their sleeves, considering how confident they were in their victory. Death chuckled in response, her voice echoing with dark amusement. Looks like they put all their eggs in one basket. A fatal mistake, it seems. With their supplies exhausted and their forces in disarray, it was only a matter of time before our victory was assured. Despite their initial bravado, it was clear that the Union of 8 Guilds had sorely underestimated the power of Ainzulgaun and its leader, the Great Me. But even as the battle drew to a close, I couldn't shake the feeling of exhilaration coursing through my veins. There's nothing quite like the thrill of victory, especially when it comes at the expense of overconfident adversaries. As the last of the enemy forces fell before us, I couldn't help but let out a hearty laugh, the sound echoing through the now silent battlefield. Well, that was anticlimactic, I remarked with a grin, turning to Death with a playful wink. Death chuckled softly, her form shimmering in the dim light of the battlefield. Seems like they were all bark and no bite, she remarked dryly, her amusement evident. I couldn't help but nod in agreement. Looks like they overestimated their abilities and underestimated ours, I replied, a hint of satisfaction creeping into my voice. But hey, who am I to complain? A win's a win, no matter how easy it comes. As we surveyed the aftermath of the battle, it became clear that our victory was complete. The enemy forces lay defeated, their once formidable ranks reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. Well, what do you know, Death? Looks like we've still got it, I said, unable to suppress a grin of triumph. Not bad for a couple of immortal misfits, huh? Death chuckled again, her laughter echoing through the desolate landscape. Not bad at all, my dear, not bad at all, and with that, we turned our attention to the task of securing our victory and collecting the drops. I also looked for Shaltir to give her some well-deserved praise. Shaltir, my dear, you were magnificent out there, I exclaimed, offering her a playful wink. I couldn't have asked for a better partner in crime. Of course, she didn't react as I would have expected. Well, maybe in the future she will remember this. Tilda. Give me your opinion and criticism about the chapter. I can only improve my story if you point out what is wrong and what is needed to change. And leave at least one comment and review if you like my fanfic. In my Patreon this volume is over, you can join my Patreon for $3, see you. More than 100 plus advanced chapters posted, you won't regret joining. All the images can only seen in my Patreon as I can't upload it in Scribble Hub. In my Chapter 47, Final Day. Overlord, the multiverse by Black_Bolt. 1.8K1073. Time passes Yggdrasil, the once popular game which shaped the very foundation of gaming community has now become a shadow of its former glory. As the game lost its glory, the average number of players entering the game also began to decrease, thus affecting the real-world stock of Yggdrasil, which was falling at a frightening rate. Gone were the days of epic battles and daring quests that captivated millions of players around the globe. The once vibrant landscapes now lay dormant, frozen in time like relics of a bygone era. The grandeur of the Asgard, once the heart of Yggdrasil, now stood silent and empty. But amidst the desolation, there lingered a sense of nostalgia, a fond remembrance of the countless adventures and friendships forged within the virtual realm. For those who had once called Yggdrasil home, the memories remained as vivid as ever, a testament to the impact the game had on their lives. Yet, despite its decline, there were still those who refused to let Yggdrasil fade into oblivion. Dedicated fans and loyal players continued to log in, clinging to the hope that one day, the game would rise from the ashes and reclaim its rightful place among the gaming greats. In the heart of the Nazareth stood a colossal table hewn from the darkest obsidian, its surface polished to a mirror-like sheen, reflecting the dim light of the chamber. Encircling it were 41 opulent chairs, their plush cushions a stark contrast against the cold stone. Yet, despite the grandeur of the setting, the majority of the seats remained conspicuously vacant. Once, this chamber had buzzed with lively conversation and animated debate, every chair occupied by a distinguished guest. But now, only one solitary figure graced the gathering. It appears our guests are fashionably late, as always, I remarked with a resigned sigh, casting a wistful glance at the unoccupied seats. It's probably for the best, my dear, came Death's voice, a spectral whisper echoing in the recesses of my mind. I chuckled softly at Death's response, a wry smile tugging at the corners of my lips. Ah, yes, it wouldn't do to overwhelm them with our dazzling presence, would it? I mused, my tone laced with playful sarcasm. Death's silent laughter reverberated in my mind, a gentle ripple of amusement that somehow managed to soothe my frayed nerves. Precisely, came the ghostly reply, tinged with an air of timeless wisdom. As I surveyed the empty seats around the table, a pang of disappointment flickered within me. I had hoped for a lively gathering, a chance to reconnect with old friends and engage in spirited debate. But alas, it seemed fate had other plans. Well, since our esteemed guests have yet to grace us with their presence, shall we make the most of our solitude? I suggested, a mischievous glint dancing in my eyes. Death's ethereal chuckle echoed in response, a sound as comforting as it was eerie. Indeed, let us seize the opportunity for a tete-a-tete conversation, my dear, came the spectral voice, dripping with amusement. With a dramatic flourish, I took my seat at the head of the table, gesturing grandly to the empty chairs arrayed before me. To think, all this space just for me, I remarked, my tone theatrical as I settled into the plush cushion. Death's presence enveloped me like a shroud, a silent companion in the quietude of the chamber. A rare luxury, indeed, dear, came the whispered response, the words carrying a gentle warmth. I raised an eyebrow at the endearment, a faint smile playing at the corners of my lips. My love, I'm getting the feeling that you're particularly affectionate today. Death's response was a soft chuckle, perhaps I am. After all, your avatar is about to become real. With that, I can call you to my domain and we can have some intimate times. I couldn't help but laugh at Death's unexpected remark. I leaned back in my chair, contemplating Death's words with a thoughtful expression. Tell me, Death, I began, breaking the silence with a curious tilt of my head, the long 3 years of your absence, which you said was to create the multiverse system, was it intentional to make me close with Touch Me and my other friends? There was a brief pause, as if Death were considering her response carefully. Yes and no, dear. Yes and no, I raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Care to elaborate, Death? Death's voice resonated within me. You are a living being, dear, she reiterated, her voice a soothing presence in the quiet of my thoughts. So, before you completely become a vampire, I thought it would be ideal to have some nice memories. Her explanation made sense, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of appreciation for her thoughtfulness. And no, because the creation of the multiverse system required my undivided attention, Death continued, her tone unwavering. I couldn't mess up my gift for you, my love. I nodded in understanding, feeling a rush of gratitude towards Death for her care and consideration. Thank you, Death, I said softly, my words filled with sincerity. For everything. With a lighthearted chuckle, I rose from my seat, the weight of our conversation lifted. Anyway, now that the emotional scene is over, I remarked with a grin, let's head to the throne room. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. Taking hold of the staff of Ain's gown, a symbol of my authority and power, I strode purposefully towards the door, eager to embrace the future that awaited me. Tilde. Give me your opinion and criticism about the chapter. I can only improve my story if you point out what is wrong and what is needed. Chapter 48, Final Day 1. Overlord, The Multiverse by Black_Bolt. 2.1K 1079. As I strolled down the hall, my staff tapping out a jaunty rhythm, I stumbled upon quite the spectacle. Before me stood a troop of maids and their distinguished butler, who looked like he could lecture me on proper tea etiquette one moment and slay a dragon the next, perhaps with a teapot. The butler's hair was whiter than the knightly armor he probably wore under that suit. His back was straighter than a ruler, and his eyes sharper than a knife at a cooking show. Meanwhile, the maids behind him were armed to the teeth, ready to clean the castle or conquer the kingdom, whichever came first. Their armor was a rainbow of metallic hues, and I couldn't help but wonder if they polished it themselves or had enchanted cleaning spells. And those headdresses, I half expected them to break into a synchronized dance number from a musical. As for the maids themselves, well, they were like a character creation menu come to life. From athletic to alluring, each one seemed to have a different theme going on. It was like someone had mixed and matched anime tropes just for kicks. These weren't your typical maids who just served tea and tidied up. No, they were the Pleiades 6 stars, the elite guard of Nazarik's throne room. And unlike their counterparts in the original timeline, they had been upgraded to level 100 combat maids, thanks to some tinkering on my part. Sure, they still had their original personalities, but now they were armed and ready to defend against any invaders who dared to threaten the great tomb of Nazarik. And leading them was none other than Sebastian, the head butler himself, created by Touch Me. With his guidance, the Pleiades 6 stars stood as the final line of defense, their combat prowess rivaling even that of the mighty floor guardians. It was a testament to the power of modification and optimization, turning what was once a mere support staff into a formidable force to be reckoned with. Follow me, I declared with a flourish, gesturing for them to follow as we made our way through the labyrinthine corridors. Sebas and the Pleiades bowed respectfully in response, a silent acknowledgement. Eventually, we arrived at a vast hemispherical dome-shaped hall. 4 colored crystal lamps glittered from the ceiling, and there were 72 niches in the walls. Most of them were filled with statues. Each statue was modeled after a demon's appearance, and there were 72 of them. This room was called the Lemegadon. It was named after the Lesser Key of Solomon, which was a magical grimoire. The statues in the niches were designed to resemble the 72 demons mentioned in that book, and in truth, they were golems made out of extremely rare magical alloys. And the 72 of them looked ferocious. The 4 colored crystal lamps on the ceiling were a type of monster. When an enemy entered their range, they would summon high-ranking elementals of earth, water, wind, and fire, as well as bombarding them with area of effect attack magic. If these crystal lamps all attacked at once, the firepower they unleashed could easily defeat 5 parties of level 100 players, roughly 12 people. This room could be said to be the final defensive line of the great underground tomb of Nazarik. As I led the servants behind me, we approached the magic circle, anticipation thrumming in my veins. Before us stood the grand double doors, towering over us at over 5 meters in height, adorned with intricate carvings. On the left, a depiction of a serene goddess graced the wood, while on the right, a menacing demon seemed ready to leap from its confines. The craftsmanship was so lifelike that I half expected them to spring to life and attack at any moment. And there, right at the center of the door, were 3 words gleaming in precious metal, a sight so rare it could make even the most seasoned treasure hunter weep with envy. Veni, Vidi, Vici, I announced dramatically, channeling my inner conqueror. We came, we saw, we conquered. As I uttered the triumphant words, I couldn't help but chuckle to myself, feeling a surge of excitement coursing through my veins. Without a word, I pressed forward, and as if sensing my presence, the massive double doors swung open, granting me passage into the throne room. Instantly, the atmosphere shifted, the solemnity of before now overshadowed by an almost tangible pressure that seemed to envelop the entire chamber. I couldn't help but marvel at the sheer grandeur before me. I couldn't get tired of this hall no matter how many times I saw it. The room was a masterpiece of design, with its high ceilings and pristine white walls adorned with golden accents that shimmered in the ambient light. Even with its vast size, the room felt spacious, capable of accommodating a multitude without feeling cramped. Above me, the chandeliers hung like jewels, casting a mesmerizing rainbow of colors that danced across the room. Flags bearing various symbols fluttered gently in the breeze, adding a touch of regal elegance to the scene. But it was the centerpiece of the room that truly captured my attention, a magnificent throne, crafted from a single piece of crystal, towering atop a flight of 10 steps. Behind it, a colossal red banner proudly displayed the symbol of our guild. And there, by the side of the throne, stood Albedo, the guardian overseer. Albedo stood before me, a vision of ethereal beauty draped in a gown as white as freshly fallen snow. Her delicate features bore a faint smile, radiating an aura of grace and elegance that could rival that of any goddess. Yet, amidst her pristine attire, her jet black hair cascaded down her back like a midnight waterfall, a stark contrast that only served to enhance her allure. Though her golden irises and slit pupils may have seemed unusual to some, they only added to the mesmerizing quality of her gaze. Despite any quirks, she possessed a beauty that transcended mortal standards, captivating all who beheld her. But it was the subtle protrusion of curled horns from the sides of her head and the graceful sweep of black feathered wings that emerged from her waist that truly set her apart. These unique traits only served to underscore her otherworldly presence. As I ascended the steps to the throne, a silent chuckle bubbled up within me, though my stoic visage betrayed no hint of amusement. Stand by, I commanded, my voice echoing faintly through the chamber as Sebas and the Pleiades obeyed, bowing respectfully before taking their positions at the side. With a final glance around the room, I settled onto the grand seat, my gaze meeting Albedo's with a silent understanding. Surveying my domain from the throne, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Yet, amidst the tranquility, a pang of loneliness tugged at my heartstrings as I observed my loyal companions, frozen in their silent vigil. Recalling the command I had once heard, I extended a hand, the gesture firm yet gentle. Kneel, as one, Albedo, Sebas, and the maids gracefully complied, a testament to their loyalty. Good. I lifted my left hand to check the time, the digital display flashing 23 hours 57 minutes and 48 seconds. With less than 3 minutes remaining, I leaned back against the throne, my gaze drifting upwards to the ceiling as I let out a slow sigh. My eyes fell upon the 41 hanging flags, each one a reminder of my friends. Then to Albedo, I did add the magic words, she is deeply in love with me, and to all the female NPCs. Should I also add she shouldn't rape me whenever I meets her? Nah, I didn't think that would be necessary. It really was a blast, wasn't it? I murmured to myself, a wistful smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. There was only a little time left for this virtual world to end and reality to merge over. I closed my eyes as the countdown began. 23 hours 59 minutes and 36 seconds, 37, 38. 23 hours 59 minutes and 56 seconds, 57, 58, 59. 0 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds, 01, 02. Tilde tilde tilde. Black underscore bolt. With this chapter the first volume is over. Join my patron if you like my story so far. In my patron, High School DxD arc ended and Demon Slayer arc just started. Give me your opinion and criticism about the Chapter 49, Once Again with Death. Overlord, The Multiverse by Black underscore bolt. 2.4K 669. Volume 2, High School DxD arc. Open your eyes, dear. I opened my eyes to behold Death herself standing before me, her sweet voice like a melody that had accompanied me through countless trials and tribulations over the past 12 years. She looked just as I remembered her, with her striking appearance that never failed to leave an impression. Her figure was, well, quite statuesque, to put it mildly, and her hair remained a constant curiosity, black on one side, white on the other, like a yin and yang of mortality. But it was her scarlet eyes, intense and penetrating, that held me in their gaze, reminding me of the inevitable fate that awaited us all. Death, my love, it's been a while, I greeted her with a smile, unable to resist the urge to tease even in the presence of the great beyond. So, why am I here once again? I asked, unable to suppress a chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. Well, darling, when your avatar became real, I couldn't resist the opportunity to pull you over for an in-depth conversation, Death replied with a slutty wink, her eyes twinkling with mischief. I couldn't help but laugh at Death's playful response, even in the midst of our surreal reunion. Ah, so this is your idea of a romantic getaway, dragging me into the afterlife for a little heart-to-heart, I quipped, a smirk playing on my lips. Death chuckled, her laughter echoing through the void. Oh, you know me, always the hopeless romantic, she teased, her scarlet eyes dancing with amusement. I couldn't resist joining in Death's laughter. Well, who am I to turn down such a romantic gesture? I replied, feigning a swoon as I leaned theatrically against an imaginary wall. Death rolled her scarlet eyes, a smirk playing on her lips. Oh, please, spare me the theatrics, she retorted, though her tone was laced with affection. Anyway, remove your clothes, we have lot to catch up on, she said. I couldn't help but burst into laughter at Death's unexpected directive, the absurdity of the situation only adding to the humor. Well, I suppose that's one way to catch up, I replied, unable to contain my amusement as I began to comply with her request. Death rolled her scarlet eyes at my antics, though there was a playful glint in them that betrayed her amusement. Oh, please, spare me the theatrics, she teased, her voice tinged with affection despite her faux exasperation. As the scenery around us shifted and transformed, I found myself standing in the familiar surroundings of a bedroom, the same bedroom where I had first taken Death's virginity. Memories flooded back, a mixture of nostalgia and disbelief washing over me as I glanced around the room. Death stood before me, her gaze intense yet playful as she awaited my next move. With a grin, I began to shed my clothes, the surrealness of the situation not lost on me as I stripped down to nothing, feeling strangely exhilarated by the anticipation of what was to come. As I stood before her, completely exposed, with a mischievous glint in her scarlet eyes, Death stepped closer, her presence electrifying as she reached out to trace a finger along my skin. "Do you remember the bet we made about losing your anal virginity?" I said with a grin. "You a pervert for remembering such a silly bet," Death said as blush creeped upon her beautiful face. "Oh, dear, a bet is a bet. So ready to say goodbye to you second virginity," I whisper as my hand slowly massaged her ass. And without further waiting, I pushed her to the bed and I climbed into bed after her. Then I slowly kissed her soft lips and sucked her boobs, which taste like vanilla. I then moved down to her black well-trimmed bush, which is hiding her vagina. I parted her lower lips and inserted my middle finger in there. Death felt a bolt of lightning coursing through her veins when she felt his finger entering her. I was taking my sweet time exploring her most intimate parts and I felt a sense of satisfaction. I started fingering Death a little faster now. I love the sensation of my finger getting sucked into the depth of some hot mass of soft tissues. I can just imagine how it will feel if instead of my finger my little brother got a chance to enter the hole. Of course, that will have to wait. Now, dear, can you turn around and bend down a little? So I can have access to your asshole. Death was little ashamed, not because of show her asshole because of the way her lover said. She did what I asked of her. With that I can see Death puckered asshole. Relying on my wet fingers I tried inserting his fingers in it. Struggling a bit in the starting but I was able to enter her after a few tries. Getting excited over this I inserted one more finger in Death's butt. Death found herself getting aroused while my finger were exploring her bum. Ah tilde, a sweet moan escaped her as I speed up my fingering. That's enough foreplay, don't you think? Death didn't bother replying, she just bent a little more and pushed her hips outward. I was ready to push my little brother inside but first I had to make sure that I can smoothly slide in because if it pains her to take it inside her hole then she might resist this idea in future, not like I allow her to resist. So I spat in his hands and slathered my dick in the saliva. I repeated this a few times and my dick was now all slippery and sloppy. Next I pressed my dick head on the puckered hole and gave a light push. And now my little brother head was inside and was held there tightly by Death's sphincter muscles. Tilde tilde tilde. In my patron, High School DxD arc ended and Demon Slayer arc just started. Give me your opinion and criticism about the chapter, I can only improve my story if you point out what is wrong. Chapter 50, Horizontal Charleston. Overlord, the Multiverse by Black_Bolt. 2.5K467. So I spat in my hands and slathered my dick in the saliva. I repeated this a few times and my dick was now all slippery and sloppy. Next I pressed my dick head on the puckered hole and gave a light push. And now my little brother head was inside and was held there tightly by Death's sphincter muscles. Mhhh, came the reply from Death. I took hold of her ass and started applying force on my large dick. To my amusement, half of my dick slid in without any obstruction. Having already know the average penny size in this world, I knew I was on the larger side. Thus it was amazing that his Death can take half of it without any sense of pain on her face. Is it all in, dear? Death asked since she can't tell from this position. No, half more to go. With that I put a little more force in hip and pushed all my size inside of Death. Now I started moving my hips and pumped Death ass with my rod. But each time I went in, a moan escaped from Death. It wasn't long before and pressure started building my dick, and without wasting any time, I pumped my baby juice to Death ass. Have you finished, dear? Death asked. Of course not, we still have the front door to open. And so, we embarked on our intimate reunion, exploring each other's bodies. In Nazarick. My lord, are you alright? Albedo asked seeing her lord, Alexander, was staying still in his throne. My lord, are you alright? She once again asked. Albedo's concern deepened as she approached Alexander's motionless form, her heart pounding with worry. With a trembling hand, she reached out to touch his shoulder, only to recoil as his body slipped from throne. Albedo's heart raced as she struggled to support Alexander's suddenly limp form, her mind racing with fear and confusion. With trembling hands, she tried to steady him. Panic surged within her as she realized the gravity of the situation. My lord, please, say something, she pleaded, her voice trembling with fear. Sebas, Lord Alexander is not responding, she called out urgently, her voice echoing through the silent halls of Nazarick. Sebas, who was kneeling down in front of throne quickly came in front of Alex with a lightning speed. Pleiades also raised from their kneeling position. Sebas's eyes widened in concern as he rushed to Alexander's side, his movements swift and decisive. What has happened, Lady Albedo? He asked, his voice calm but urgent as he assessed the situation. I'm not sure, Albedo admitted, her voice trembling with fear. One moment, Lord Alexander was sitting on his throne, and the next. He just slipped off. Sebas's brow furrowed in concern at Albedo's words, his mind racing as he considered the possibilities. Did anyone poison him? He asked, his voice low but filled with urgency. Albedo shook her head, her own thoughts swirling with fear and uncertainty. I don't know, she admitted, she couldn't think straight in front of her motionless lord. Sebas's eyes narrowed in concern as he observed Albedo's distress, his own worry mounting at the sight of her unease. Lady Albedo, we must remain calm, he urged, his voice gentle but firm as he placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Our priority is to determine the cause of Lord Alexander's condition and take swift action to ensure his well-being. Albedo nodded, though her hands still trembled with anxiety. You're right, Sebas, she acknowledged, her voice steadying slightly as she forced herself to focus. We cannot afford to panic. We must approach this situation with a clear mind and act decisively. With a deep breath, Albedo pushed aside her fear and uncertainty, drawing upon her training as the overseer of the Guardians to regain her composure. As one of the highest authorities in Nazarick, it was her duty to lead by example and maintain control in the face of adversity. Pleiades, prepare a teleportation gate and take Lord Alexander to his bedchamber and protect him. And if I even saw a ant bite in Lord Alexander's body, I will kill you all, she commanded. Albedo watched with a sense of relief as Alexander's unconscious form was gently lifted and carried through the teleportation gate, disappearing from view in a flash of light. Despite the urgency of the situation, she knew that he would be in good hands under the watchful eye of Pleiades. Pleiades nodded in acknowledgement, their movements swift as they set about fulfilling Albedo's orders. With practiced efficiency, they conjured the necessary magic and created a shimmering portal that would transport their lord to the safety of his bedchamber. Turning her attention back to Sebas, Albedo's gaze hardened with determination. Search the throne room for any signs of poison or foul play, and call all the guardians. And no information leak should happen to lower denizens of Nazarick. Sebas nodded in affirmation, his expression mirroring Albedo's determination. Understood, Lady Albedo, he replied, his voice resolute. I will ensure that the throne room is thoroughly searched for any signs of poison or foul play. And I will personally gather all the guardians, ensuring that no information leaks to the lower denizens of Nazarick. With a sense of purpose, Sebas swiftly departed to carry out Albedo's commands, leaving her alone to contemplate the gravity of their situation. As overseer of the guardians, it was her responsibility to maintain order and protect the interests of Nazarick at all costs. Alone in the throne room, Albedo's thoughts raced as she considered the possible threats that loomed over their lord and master. Had Alexander been targeted by enemies from within Nazarick, or was there a more insidious force at play? Albedo couldn't say for certain, but one thing was clear, she would stop at nothing to protect Alexander, even if it meant challenging death itself. Achoo, well, it seems someone is talking about me. Never mind, Death muttered, a small smile playing on her lips. Come on, darling, are you tired already? Of course not, I still haven't shown you my horizontal Charleston move. Tilde. In my patron, High School the XD arc ended and Demon Slayer arc just started. Give me your opinion and criticism.